So there's good news and there's bad news. The good news we're going to get to at the end of the show. I want to start off with the bad news, and I think we all know what the bad news is. The bad news is that we broke through this level on Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now below 69,000. So we broke below the bear flag. We broke below 70,000. At the same time, you got ETH, which also broke levels. We broke $2,000, and you got Sol, which broke the $80 level. So all the levels have been broken. But the chart levels, or these levels on the charts, aren't the only levels that have actually been broken. We've broken some other key levels. One of the other key levels that we've actually broken is the RSI levels. The RSIs are now below 45. Now what that means is that we are in bear market RSI. So if you look at this chart over here, what this chart over here shows you is that every time we break below 45 on the RSIs, that actually means more of a downtrend, and you can actually see it when you look at this chart over here. The more concerning thing for me is that now this looks very much like the traditional 4-year cycle. And not only does it look very much like the traditional 4-year cycle, but it actually looks like the traditional 4-year midterm cycle. Now, what happens in the traditional 4-year midterm cycle, which we've just broken back into that channel, means that we usually bleed out here and we go into lows, which actually comes sometime around October. So I want to talk about all of that. I want to talk about all the levels that have been broken. I also want to talk about what the next levels are for Bitcoin, because I think that the next levels for Bitcoin actually become a little bit scary. I think we need to see them so that when we get to them, we know exactly where we're getting to. And then after all of that, I actually want to give you the good news. And there is good news on the horizon, believe it or not. Maybe it's not as good as Bitcoin, or as good as the bad news of Bitcoin breaking down, but there actually is some really good news on the horizon, and I actually want to show that to you. So the bad news, the good news, we'll discuss everything today. Anything else you want to discuss, Hardest, today while we're here? Let's get the show on the road then, sir. As I said, I promise that there is actually good news at the end of this, but let's start off with the bad news for the day. The bad news for the day, as I said, we've broken down below the bear flag. I don't like the fact that we've broken down below the bear flag. The main reason why I don't like the fact that we've broken down below the bear flag is because now this market is very much starting to resemble 2022. And if I look at the 2022 market, what I warned you guys about every other time that I've spoken about this is I said, look, the problem with these collapses is that you break down, and then you get into these bear flags, and then when the bear flags break, it becomes quite aggressive. The biggest and most aggressive move after a bear flag is when we tag the 200-day moving average. So you can see over here, we tag the 200-day moving average, we hit the top of the bear flag, and then we actually had the big move. So the first move down in the 2022 bear market was this move over here, which went down top to bottom 50%. The second move down, top to bottom, was actually the more violent move over here, right? So that's the more violent move, which was about 65% down. And the problem is that right now, as it stands, we are doing exactly what we did in 2022. So if you want to believe the 4-year cycle, you don't want to believe the 4-year cycle, that's up to you. But right now, the part that's worrying me the most is that we are resembling 2022. If we break down the same way that we broke down in 2022, and this bear market exactly resembles the bear market of 2022, I want to show you what it looked like top to bottom. So that's the top over there, that's 69,000. And the bottom was over here when FTX collapsed, and that took us down 77%. So that bear market actually went down 77%. I don't want to talk about 77% on this bear market because I don't think it can happen. The reason why I don't think it can happen is because we never got a very big bull market. But under the assumption that we actually did go down 77%, we would get to 27,000 or 30,000 on the markets. As I said, I don't think we're going to get there, but worth talking about it, and also worth talking about the other levels where we can realistically get to, because now that this bear flag has broken down, there are levels that we can realistically get to. One of those levels is this level over here, which is the bottom of the last channel, which was $60,000. And actually, if history were to repeat itself, then we would go down a bit lower than that. So I want to talk about that as well today. Before we do though, I do see that there are 400 of you here and only 50 likes. Do me a favor, help me get some distribution here. It really helps. We had a very big show yesterday, thanks to you guys, much bigger than our normal shows, thanks to you guys. So do it again. Let's smash the like button, help me get the distribution. I'm going to carry on bringing you the fastest alpha on the internet. I promise you at the end of the show I'm going to bring you the good news. There's a lot of good news that's actually coming out here. So that is my big fear. My big fear is that we have now hit that. We're now resembling the 2022 bear market. You can see in the 2022 bear market, when we hit the 21-week SMA, that's when the big move came down. We just hit the 21-week SMA again, which is a big problem. The other thing that's broken, so we broke through all those levels, we broke the RSIs. The other thing that's broken is, remember, we were at some stage, we were correlated with the IGV, which was this ETF for software stocks. Now, what you'll remember if you were paying attention is that the IGV took a big hit. Why? Because the software stocks took a big hit when AI came out. When AI came out, everybody kind of said, oh, AI is going to kill software stocks. And that IGV index went down 35%. The thing with the IGV index is that now the IGV index is starting to recover, right? So if you take the IGV index off its low here, it's up 45%. And at that point, we also lost the correlation to the IGV. So yes, we were tracking the software stocks. That was the crypto bros narrative. Don't worry, Bitcoin will recover when the software stocks recover. Well, it didn't. And here we are. The IGV's recovered. Bitcoin hasn't recovered. And so now we need to find a new theory as to why Bitcoin's actually going down. The interesting thing about looking at the IGV here is if you look at the bottom of the IGV, and I want you to pay attention to what the bottom of the IGV looked like here. You see, we tagged the level here, we crashed to a certain level, we recovered, and then we went down below that level. The reason why I'm showing you that is because that is actually a scenario for Bitcoin. A scenario for Bitcoin is that, let me try and find us a Bitcoin chart here. So a scenario for Bitcoin, if you were to compare it to that, is that we tagged $60,000 over here. As you can see, we then recovered, and then we put in a low slightly below $60,000. Unfortunately, and I say this because, I'm in the same boat as you guys, unfortunately, I think that that's the most likely scenario. I think that if we break down and we don't get back into this bear flag pretty quickly, then you may have a chance when we retest, because we generally retest these bear flags. But otherwise, if we don't break back into the channel, then I think we have a big problem. Then I think we're going down. I think my first level here would be this level over here, and we're going to look at a couple of other levels later. Another correlation that we broke, unfortunately, is the ISM correlation. So you'll remember that the ISM is the survey done to the manufacturers, and generally that tells you whether the economy's expanding or contracting. If it's above 50, the economy is expanding. If it's below 50, the economy is contracting. Now, the reason why I say we broke the correlation is because what we know is that every time that the economy expands and the ISM goes over 50, what happens is you get a Bitcoin bull market. So in every other time that we've had this, the ISM has expanded over 50. You can see that's the line. That's the line over there of 50. And every time that the ISM is broken up above the 50, Bitcoin's had a run. You can see it over here, you can see it over here, and you can see it over here. This time the ISM is above 50 and Bitcoin actually isn't moving. Like it's just not moving. And it's starting to get, I must say, it's starting to get really depressing. I'll tell you why it's starting to get really, really depressing. That's the performance of Bitcoin relative to all the other assets. So that's Bitcoin over there. That's gold. Gold has had a terrible performance. That's silver, also had a terrible performance. And then you go all the way up to all these indices like the Kospi and all the indices, Google, the AI stocks, etc., etc. And I don't know about you, but I wake up every morning and my Twitter feed looks like this. Literally every day I see new highs, and it's the same thing that I used to see about the meme coins. I now see it about stocks, which is, first of all, it's very unusual. Second of all, it's clearly the same pattern that we were getting in the meme coins and we were getting in the other crypto tokens before the big collapse. And here's the problem for me, right? The problem for me is that we're all sitting here. The reason why this bear market has been so depressing is, well, first of all, the stocks have moved and we haven't moved. So we're getting these moves, but we haven't moved. That's the first reason why it's depressing. It's kind of shit. It's kind of depressing to sit here, to wake up every morning, to know that there's an alt season in stocks, as Junior says over here, to know that the only asset class that is not moving is the one that we dedicate most of our money, most of our time, most of our effort into. That's the first part of it, but that's not the real depressing part of it. I know what the real depressing part of it is. So yes, that is depressing. But you want to know what the real depressing part is? The real depressing part is that we're sitting here and we know that the stock market is going to come down. We know. It's so obvious. We've seen these patterns before. We know what happens at the end of this, right? We know what happens when you wake up every morning and you look at the bubbles, and when the stock bubbles, by the way, you can get stock bubbles if you want them here on Banter Bubbles. When the stock bubbles are, you see, when stocks are moving up 29%, and this is a $1 trillion company, guys. This is it's not a $1 trillion company yet. Let's just see. Market cap is $200 billion. Okay. This is a $200 billion stock going up 30%. If I go on to the weekly, you look at Dell. In the last week, Dell has gone up 50%. It's gone from $125 billion market cap to a $270 billion market cap. Just imagine that Ethereum doubled in a day. IBM up 27%, Oracle up 25% in the last week. We know what happens at the end of this, right? We know that at the end of this, basically, you get a little bit of a correction. And we also know that when that correction actually comes, there's no way in hell that Bitcoin doesn't move down when that correction happens. That's the problem with this bear market, right? It's not that, well, one part of it is that we've missed the market on the way up. We're all kicking ourselves. Why did we spend so much time in crypto? At least I'm kicking myself. Why did I spend so much time in crypto? Why did I put all my energy into crypto? How did I miss the run in stocks? I mean, I missed it to an extent. I did have some investments, but not nearly enough investments that I had in stocks. And I know you guys are feeling exactly the same way. And then the worst part of it is, you know that the stock market is going to correct. You know that. Let's get us some charts so we can actually talk about facts and not just hearsay. You know that when a market does that, I mean, you know what's going to happen next. And the problem is that you know when this happens, you know that Bitcoin's coming down with it. That's the part that's killing me. The part that's killing me specifically is I know that the stock market is going to take a breather. And the problem is that when it does, I know Bitcoin's going to take a breather. So are you saying to me that right now at 70, this is when the stock market's at all-time highs? What happens when the stock market goes to all-time lows? That could take us down to all those scary levels, or the scary levels which I'm about to speak to you about. And I think we need to have a very honest conversation about it. I think that a lot of people believe that that maybe Saylor can save us here. And I want to show you that Saylor's not going to be able to save us here. And the reason why Saylor's not going to be able to save us here is because, as I said to you before, there's a big problem here. STRC is not going to repeg until very late in the month, which gives no time for Saylor to go out and raise money. So I'm not expecting Saylor to come into the market anytime soon. I mean, in fact, just look at where this STRC is trading, 97.89. I think that there's a good chance that this thing never repegs. What Saylor's doing in the meantime is he is trying to get the dividend to vote for twice monthly dividends, right? Which hopefully would mean that this thing repegs twice a month, but it's not even repegging once a month anymore because the market just doesn't want to repeg this thing. Why would you buy an asset for $97 when you know the thing can easily go to $50? It doesn't have to repeg to 100, and Saylor will just have to keep increasing the dividend until the market doesn't respond to dividend increasing. And that's pretty much what's starting to happen at the moment. I also think you picked the wrong time to sell. If you were going to inoculate the market and sell Bitcoin, do it when there's some kind of strength in the market. Don't do it when there's weakness in the markets. I see that Joanne Perry's just joined us. Welcome, Joanne. Good to see you. Joanne Perry's just joined us. She's from the UK. She's one of our most loyal listeners. She was here in 2021. She was back here in the old days. I see everybody. I know you think I don't see you guys in the comments, but I really see each and every one of you in the comments, and I appreciate that you guys are here. I appreciate Charles. You're here almost every single day. Giovanni Capello also here almost every single day. Quantum 5652, I see you. Darren Braytonfield, I see you. I see everybody. I see Joanne. I see Chris. I see everybody. Let me know where you're from. Because we haven't had this discussion for a long time. And well done for that you guys are all here. I see Darren. Darren, I see you, bro. So look, Saylor's not going to save us. He's got no time to actually sell. I mean, STRC is not going to peg anytime soon. And if it doesn't peg anytime soon, then he's not going to have time to go out and raise money. And therefore, Saylor's not going to come in and prop this market, it's a big problem. It's a real problem. I see people from Belgium. I see people from Georgia in the USA, Dublin, Ireland. Got a bad Irish accent. Puerto Rico. We've got friends everywhere, guys. We've got friends everywhere. At least we're here, and at least we got each other. I don't know if you guys have been following this guy on Poly Markets, and I think this is quite a big thing, right? So what happened here is, the backstory is that he bet that Saylor would sell Bitcoin before 31st May. And clearly Saylor did sell Bitcoin before the 31st of May, but the question is that he only announced it on the 1st of June, right? And so Polymarket said, because he only announced it on the 1st of June, then he didn't sell by the 31st of May, when he clearly did sell on the 31st of May. I really hope that they do the right thing here, and that they actually pay this guy out and they actually fix their systems, because their systems are wrong here. Their systems are wrong. All right, so we're now going into June. The bad news here, we're still in the bad news. We are going to get to the good news. The bad news here is that June is the second worst month for Bitcoin ever. If you look at the data over here, you can see that if you look at June over here, the average return for June is negative 0.54%. The only month that is worse than that is, there is one more month, is this one, which is August, right? Or September. So generally, I mean, the whole thing of sell in May, specifically in the midterm years, sell in May actually is a good thing. You should be selling in May, in the midterms. I guess Ben was right. I'm actually going to get Ben to come onto the channel to come and talk to us, because he said that the counter trends in the bear markets will always last long enough to think that maybe this time is different. Then they flush you out, which is exactly what happened to anyone who thought this would happen. Remember, I kept saying to you guys, I'm not convinced of this rally until such time as we go above and close above this bear flag over here, which we didn't do. We hardly closed above it, or specifically on the weekly. And so now we land up being in the same position that we've been in every other bear market, unfortunately, which is a dangerous position. So let's talk about the levels that we can actually get to, because I think that's the important thing. Where do we go from here? So the first level was to break below the bear flag, 72,000. That 72,000 is now broken. The next level, which was quite an important level, was the previous all-time high. So if you go back to the previous bull market and you go to the previous all-time high, which was this one over here, that's about the 69,000 level. So we're kind of flirting with that 69,000 level. I think that level is pretty much broken now. I mean, on the daily, it's pretty much broken. Let's just see if it actually closes there. So where do we go from there? The next logical level is we actually go to this level over here, which is 60,000. So next stop for me, 60,000. My gut feel, unfortunately, says, or the data also says, that generally when we break down with these things, you see every time we break down, you see we break down and we break down one further, we break down and we break down one further, we break down and we break down one further, we break down and we break down one further. So generally I think we would test the lows and actually go slightly below the lows. So if you're asking me where we're going to get to, generally I'd say if we break down below this 69,000 level, then I think the next stop is unfortunately 60,000 over here. Yeah, it's 60,000. And then let's just quickly go to a chart of Bitcoin. So 60,000 would be my next level. And then after that, then what I would imagine would happen is would go somewhere to here, which is between 50 and 55,000. So that is unfortunately, that's where I think we're going. I wish I could tell you otherwise, but you know, that's what the data actually says. Specifically now we're in June. It's not the best month for Bitcoin. Yeah, we always land up sweeping the low. You can see that if we go to the realized price band, which by the way, we have been at in this market over here and in this bear market over here, that realized band is between $43,000 and $54,000. So unfortunately, that doesn't look very good. Doesn't look very good. I did promise you some good news, right? I did promise you some good news. And there is good news at the end of this, which I think is very much worth speaking about. So the good news at the end of all of this is that I've been here for, I think this is my third or fourth bear market, depending on how you classify the bear markets. And I can tell you that I haven't been in a bear market where altcoins have shown such relative strength against Bitcoin. So generally, when you have a bear market, Bitcoin goes down, every other altcoin gets wiped. And generally in a bear market, when you open your bubbles, everything is always red if Bitcoin goes down. Now, Bitcoin's just broken down below the key levels. And what you can see is you can actually see something which is, it's a phenomena. The phenomena is that you've got altcoins actually running. Altcoins like Near, up today 13.2%. Altcoins like WorldCoin, up 41.76%. I want you to remember these names because I'm going to show you in a second why I'm so excited about these names. ICP, I have to hand it to ICP. They have found a product market fit now that AI has come on board. Now that there's AI and they've got that Caffeine app. Caffeine allows you to vibe code any app and make it a decentralized app. They've now got product market fit. If you kind of look at their transactions, I mean, the number of transactions that the Definity supercomputer or the internet computer is actually doing it's actually mind-blowing. So they seem to have found, after all these years of development, they seem to have found amazing product market fit. And so that's one of those. But I want to go back to the bubbles here, right? And specifically what I want to do is say, look, in the last week, Bitcoin's had a bit of a tough time. But if you look at the altcoins, just look at what you're seeing there. You're actually seeing a lot of green in a Bitcoin sea of red. And you see the same thing over here as well. Like if you look at the 100 to 200 on the daily as well, what you can see is a lot of green, even though there's a sea of red out there. And that's the good news. And so I'll tell you what the good news is. I know some of you haven't been here for multiple bear markets, but generally in a bear market, if Bitcoin went down, everything went down. And there was no point in looking at any altcoin at any time because every altcoin just went down every time Bitcoin went down. But now in this bear market, it's different. And so I tweeted this yesterday. If you guys aren't following me on Twitter, I suggest you do it. It's the highest alpha Twitter account in the world at the moment. And I said, this time is actually different. I've been here for 3 full cycles. And the one thing that sticks out to me about this cycle is how certain alts are actually moving up against Bitcoin. Coins like Hype, Zcash, Ton, Injective, VVV, Jito, etc. They're moving up while Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana are taking hit. And that got me thinking that this time actually is different. I like Eric's take here because he says maybe we finally hit an inflection point where newer crypto entrants don't care about Bitcoin and ETH anymore, watching both tank daily, Hyperliquid, Zcash, Jito, VVV going up despite this. What's actually going on here? Well, I'll tell you what's going on here. I think that the market's basically saying, look, there's the legacy assets. Those legacy assets, Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, we know them, they're the layer ones and they're going to follow the Bitcoin cycle. But there are certain tokens or protocols that are actually good businesses as standalone businesses. Hype is an amazing business as a standalone business, right? It does well in a bull market, it does well in a bear market, it'll do much better in a bull market. VVV, Hardest was saying earlier that he's now using Venice. Venice is the AI product. It's his favorite LLM. It's not really an LLM, but it does the same thing as an LLM does, right? And it's so I think the good news is that some of the altcoins are actually outperforming Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin starts moving down. To the extent that if you look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, the Bitcoin dominance chart just put in a death cross. What that means is that, if it follows the other previous death crosses, here is the death cross over here, here is the death cross over here, and here's the third death cross over here. What that means is that if we play out like this, then basically we could expect the Bitcoin dominance to drop. Now, what would it take for Bitcoin dominance to drop? It would take for altcoins to really start outperforming Bitcoin. That is what we'd expect from this golden cross. We'd expect the altcoins to grossly outperform Bitcoin. And they actually have been doing that. Like altcoins like Near, Zcash, Injective, WorldCoin have all started to outperform Bitcoin today, for the last week, etc., etc. So that's the good news. The good news is that there are certain coins that are outperforming Bitcoin and that we could actually be getting into a slightly more mature market. And that slightly more mature market is a market where not everything goes down because Bitcoin's going down and not everything goes up because Bitcoin's going up. I've been here since 2015. And to be honest, I'm kind of tired of waking up in the morning and the entire fate of my entire portfolio, the entire fate of whether you guys are going to rock up and watch my show or not, the entire fate of whether I'm going to be in a good mood or a bad news, have a good day or a bad day, lies in the hands of one coin. It's enough. I want to be in a position where I can have a good day on my portfolio, even if Bitcoin goes down. And to be honest, I actually have been having the best trading streak of my life. I hate saying it because I know a lot of you have lost money, but I actually have to point this out to you guys. I've never hit a trading streak like this, I want to say ever. You can see that I called a couple of tokens the other day. I'll take you to the original post. Let me just go back to the original post. You can just see some of the track record here. It's all in front runners. Everything that I do, I basically post in front runners. I said the other day, I'm buying Jito at 51 cents. Now, even though Bitcoin's moved down, if I look at the Jito chart, Jito tagged $70 cents earlier today. And I think it's back on the up move. It's now at 61.84. I said I'm buying WorldCoin. Here's the receipts, guys. Here are the receipts. I said I'm buying a WorldCoin at 0.29. And that WorldCoin is today, it hit to 0.47 today. I said I'm buying Octra at 0.29. I'll show you where Octra is in a second. Let's just go there. So Octra, why it's playing those games with me? Let's OCTRA. I don't know if this thing's listed anywhere. Let's see if I can get you a price on this thing. What's going on here? Let's go to Octra here. You see OCTRA. And you can see that one is trading at now 12.46. That's a 5x return in this kind of market. Tibber, Aerodrome, Zcash hype. So near, as you can see over here, every single one of these. So yes, the market's been brutal, but there is a silver lining at the end of this, and that is that if you are in the right tokens, if you are actually in touch, then there actually is a good way to make money in this market. And actually, I mean, I've never had a streak like this. I must be honest. I've never, ever, ever in my life had a streak like this. I posted today in Frontrunners and I said, like, I know it's a really bad market, but Jito trade just popped. We also call Telegram. I want to speak a little bit about Telegram or Ton. So why do I want to speak a little bit about Ton? Because so the Ton chart is another one of those charts. I want to call the chart up for you guys. That's moving despite the fact that Bitcoin's not moving. And there's some significant events that are happening there. So the first event that's happening is Pavel Durov, who's the founder of Telegram, has basically taken control of the Telegram foundation. He said, look, I don't need a foundation anymore. I'm going to do this myself. Yesterday, he renamed the Ton token to Gram. Now, at face value, that might seem like, oh, well, that's nothing. So he just changed the name of the blockchain from Ton to Gram. But it's actually a very big move. And the reason why it's a very big move is if you know the history of Telegram, the messaging app, was trying to launch a token called Gram in 2018, 2019, around about that time. And they were blocked by the SEC, they were blocked by the administration, they were even blocked by Apple. Apple said, look, if you launch this, we're removing your app from the App Store. And so they were forced to abandon the project, and they donated the code to the community, right? Now, Pavel Durov's basically taken this back and he's renamed it Gram. And basically, what I hear from insiders is that he is now on a mission to fix the token because he knows that the token is the key to success here. Why is the token the key to success here? Well, it comes down to distribution, and I'll tell you what I mean. We're in an age of AI. And in this age of AI, anyone can vibe code anything, and you can pretty much launch any app or any piece of technology very quickly. Any technology can be copied, any technology can be replicated very quickly. The one thing that can't be replicated, the one thing that you need in the age of AI is you need distribution. You can't fake distribution. Either you have distribution or you don't have distribution. Now that's where Telegram actually wins, right? So you look at Telegram, you say, Telegram has 1 billion users. They have 1 billion users with 500 million daily active users. Okay, just think about, it's the only crypto consumer app that has 1 billion users. Yesterday, when we spoke about the other protocols, we spoke about Hyperliquid, we spoke about Solana, we spoke about that. I just want to give you the numbers here so you understand how big his distribution is. Hyperliquid has 83,000 daily active users. Solana has 2.1 million daily active users. And Telegram has 500 million. So you're talking about Telegram's distribution being 250 times the size of Solana. And I don't even want to calculate how many times the size of Hyperliquid. So with technology becoming commoditized, distribution becomes the king. And the biggest chance for distribution of a crypto app is actually Telegram. And now that you've got Pavel Durov actually waking up to that, when you look at Telegram and you say, okay, well, what's the market cap of Telegram? I want to quickly call it up for you guys here. So Ton, there we go. Market cap is $5 billion. You're like, hold on a second. This thing has got, 10x upside. Easy 10x upside. So I've added Ton to my portfolio. I'm still adding here at these levels, like $2. I'm actually adding Ton to my portfolio here, just because of the distribution thesis. Anyway, my friends, that's not it for today. I've got a couple of other public service announcements. The first thing is, as I said in Frontrunners, you know what? Let's open the Frontrunners thing again. You guys can, if you want to join Frontrunners, really, I recommend that you do it. You've now seen the track record of what we've been doing. You know what? I'll give you guys 2 offers. It's the same offers I gave you guys last week, and I'll keep them open for 24 hours. First thing is, if you are a member that was a member of Frontrunners and you left because the market got bad and you couldn't afford to be here anymore, you can join back for free. You can come back. Come back for free. Come back for free. Use the code COMEBACK, but we check your Discord username. If you're a new member, you can come back for half price. Just try it for a month, see the calls. If you don't make your money back, leave. But do it because we're actually making money in this bear market. Unbelievable, but you've seen the receipts. That's the first thing. Also, today, we have a special appearance with Gareth Soloway. So if you want to come and be with Gareth Soloway live, backstage, etc., etc., we're meeting Gareth later. In fact, if you want to watch that, that's going to be on Crypto Insider. I want to talk to you a little bit about Crypto Insider. So we have changed the channel, the Crypto Insider channel. we're now making it much more institutional crypto content, much more institutional grade crypto content. And we've launched an institutional grade newsletter. And the first newsletter is out. It's free, completely 100% free. If you want it, just go to here. That's the newsletter. It's called The Insider. And that is an institutional grade newsletter that is absolutely free. The first one's out. It talks about Trump auditing Fort Knox and what could actually happen to Bitcoin. And it really is a good newsletter. So go and sign up for that. Otherwise, we'll be live with Gareth Soloway in about, about 2 hours. In about 2 hours, we'll be live with Gareth Soloway. Look out for that thumbnail. I will see you guys again tomorrow. Actually, no, I'll see you guys again in 2 hours. And if you join Frontrunners, I'll see you inside Frontrunners later on today. Otherwise, I'll see you guys again tomorrow. For those of you who are not going to see us on Crypto Insider, and for those of you who are not signing up to, I'm not signing up. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.